Yo, we just people from the north side. Once and Timmy's at the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your host, your boy, George Mackay, back on another edition of Straight Talk Wrestling. And this time I got a real treat. I got someone who is kick-ass. A power lifter, a pro wrestler, all in her twilight years, kicking ass, taking names, and he's beautiful while doing it. Please help me welcome. Thank God I never had a nanny like this. Of course, if I did, I might be straight and narrow. Bad Nanny to Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you, my dear?
Hey, good. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, no problem. Listen, it's actually found out about you, or discovered you, should I say, through a good friend of ours, Joe Hagan. He's one of the ring announcers of Ontario Indie Wrestling. He discovered you, worked the show with you, said you were absolutely hilarious and I should check you out. And I don't listen to Joe often. No, I'm joking. I listen to Joe all the time. But when he said to check you out, I couldn't resist. I saw the diaper. I saw the wooden spoon. I saw everything to do with the rope. Do you have the spoon? Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, I got the spoon. I got the spoon. All right.
This is amazing. I love it.
That's right.
This is Gen X taking on everything that is Gen Alpha, Gen Z, all this crap going at. You are literally taking everyone down. But I want to talk to you about your journey. You are 8 years ago, 47.
Yeah.
You moved to Hamilton and you've been a pro
Well,
wrestler.
I'm 50. I'm turning. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're cutting out.
Am I cutting out? Can you hear me? Are we okay? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. Now
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So you're 47, 8 years ago, you moved to Hamilton to start training at Off the Rope Studio, if I did my research correctly. Now you're in your 50s, and what makes someone decide at 47, you know what? I've been a pro wrestling fan. I'm going to step in the ring. How do you decide that?
So I moved to Hamilton about 9 years ago from rural Prince Edward Island. Mm-hmm. And my current husband that I moved to Hamilton for is a sports doctor for powerlifting. And I was a professional a Team Canada powerlifter. And we have sports therapy clinics in Hamilton, Guelph, and Hagersville. And one day we had this guy come in, and he was, pretty muscly guy. And I was like, oh, you must be a power lifter like me. You're pretty muscular. And he goes, well, he said, I go to the gym. He said, but I'm actually a professional wrestler. And I went, really? What do you mean? And he was like, oh, because I had no idea that there was like this whole wrestling world in Ontario. And this was like during COVID as well. So he's like, yeah, it was Chris Toast. And Toast says, yeah, I got a show coming up, cancer fundraiser show. I'll put you in it. And I'm like, I don't know how to wrestle. So he's like, just wear your Team Canada singlet, your medals, just go in there. You're going to pick up this other wrestler guy over your shoulders. You're going to slam him, walk out. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So he gave me like a couple of practices before his show. So my music hits, I walk down the ramp, I get in the ring, and I'm like, this is like a dream come true. I'm like, this is amazing. This will be my only time to ever do this. So don't screw it up. So I go in, and our timing was off because I don't know what I'm doing. Pick this guy up halfway up and then just kind of like, and fall backwards with him. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed that I screwed up my only time I would ever be in a wrestling ring. And I didn't sleep for 3 nights because, like, as an athlete, if you screw up as an athlete, you beat yourself up at night about it. So my husband's like, well, if you ever want to do this again, you have to train. And I'm like, yeah. So I need to go to wrestling school. So I did go to a couple of classes at Hamilton Pro Wrestling. And I was paired up with a guy. I'm 5'3". This guy was probably 6'3", 6'4". He was huge. And this is who I had to like practice with that day. And I was just like, you know what? Like, it's kind of hard for me to learn on someone who's like so much bigger than me. So I thought, my husband said, if you ever find an all girls wrestling class. He said, I will support you 100%. He said, I will. That is perfect. And I'm like, found one. So Off the Ropes School in Kitchener has an all girls wrestling class. And I've been there now for 2.5, 3 years at Off the Ropes. And my husband also didn't want me to be a sexy wrestler. So I'm like, oh, don't worry, honey. I'm not going to be sexy. So I dress up as an older lady with a ratty pink house coat that says Bad Nanny across the back. And when I get in the ring and I've got my cane, and I usually have like an audience member like lift me butt first into the ring to help me up, because I am way too old to get into that ring by myself.
Of course.
So I get an audience member to help me up, and I get in, and then I undo my robe and I take it off like this, very theatrical like. And then the audience sees that I'm also wearing a Depend on over my singlet. And then they just lose their minds. And then it's just like wacko mayhem from there. And I'll beat my opponent with a wooden spoon, or I got my cane. I make promotional videos before the match where I'm like making cookies in the kitchen like an old grandmother would, but like instead I'm like putting X-Lax in the cookies that I'm going to give to my opponent. Yeah. So it's just a lot of fun. You just get to have a lot of fun with it.
I love that. And when you mentioned to your husband that you weren't going to be sexy, was the nanny was the nanny incantation like the first idea that you had, or was there a couple different versions before we settled on what we have now, which is so special, by the way? It really is. Oh
no, my wacko brain came up with that like instantly. Okay. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be this wacko old grandmother that just does what she wants. And you know, the beauty of it is that I'm a beginner wrestler, but if I screw up in the ring, I'm old. So your mistakes don't mean as much. It's incredible. Get away with some stuff.
It really is. No, but it's a fascinating story. I mean, from what, again, the internet is very hard to always get 100%, research on. But one article,
for sure.
One article that I found was from I want to make sure I quote the saltwire.com. That's the article that I found, which was really, really fun. It said that you were, the title of the article is Acting, Powerlifting, Backgrounds Combined to Spark Passion for 50-Year-Old PEI Wrestler.
Yes.
Great title, Great imagery, great pictures. And it just talks a lot about, you being a longtime fan out in PEI. And then how you moved to Hamilton. Like I said, the article quoted 8 years, but it's probably been closer to 9.
That's fine.
And it's just fascinating to see. So, I mean, let's go back to powerlifting. What sparked your interest in always being a longtime wrestling fan, that we know, but what sparked your interest in powerlifting and wanting to represent our great country? Now, mind you, politically as we stand, our great country could use a facelift, but as a whole, Canada is a pretty awesome place. And I will say that. I love being.
Yeah, sure is.
Especially now with those Canada's not for sale hats. I bought one. I got it coming. I can't wait to rock that hat everywhere I go. But what sparked your interest in powerlifting? I know that you're a longtime wrestling fan, but how does one get into powerlifting and wanting to become an Olympian, which is a very, very special thing?
So I played rugby for my University of Prince Edward Island. And I was in the gym to use it as like training for rugby. I had no idea there was such a thing as powerlifting. Like the only thing I knew about was professional bodybuilding, and I wasn't into that, but I still admired the dedication it took for bodybuilders to, their nutrition and their training. And I was always attracted to that type of mindset. And then Rolodex into the future, like I've been in training in the gym since I was 18. But then, you get married, you have some kids, and like life changes. And then, when my kids were a little bit older, then I started getting involved into strongman competitions and fitness competitions and whatever I could get my hands on. So, PEI was hosting nationals in 2011. So leading up to 2011, they were really promoting powerlifting on the island to get as many islanders to compete at nationals that year. So for about a year and a half, I trained specifically for powerlifting to get to get qualified to go to nationals. And then once I went to nationals, then it was like that door was open into like some like really cool opportunities. And I've competed since then. I went to Worlds in Sweden in 2019 and placed second in the world. And then COVID hit. But also before then, I placed second at Commonwealth. And then I won Commonwealth and first in North American bench press competition. But when I was competing, after I competed at Worlds, my life was starting to get a little stressful because I had 7 family members with cancer at the same time. Mm-hmm. So if your body's stressed, then you're more prone to injury. So after Worlds, I went to Commonwealth and won that. My life's starting to get more and more stressful with all this family cancer. And then I got hurt a week before nationals, and I still went to nationals, but I had crappy numbers because I had, put my back out 2 weeks before the competition. And then after that, COVID hit, and I was like, ugh, I just completely lost my drive for competitive lifting. Still trained in the gym, still trained heavy. I still trained heavy 4 days a week, but it was slowly starting to not be part of my persona as a powerlifter. Mm-hmm. So then when Toast came into the office, I did ask Toast if I could use his name in my interviews, and he did say yes. So that's good. But so when he came in and he talked to me about professional wrestling, and I had no idea that this world even existed. And it just opened that new door. And then that new door opens this door, opens that door. And then all of a sudden, I'm on Straight Talk Wrestling Podcast. So you never know where you're going to be.
Well, I appreciate the shout out, but honestly and truly, I love stories like this. I'm a big pro wrestling fan myself. Never had the ability to want to step into the ring, but I love talking about it. And I also love being a narrator for the stories because it's so much fun to hear the history of how so many people fell in love with the same thing that I fell in love with. And pro wrestling in a lot of ways, saved me in so many different ways. From a kid with a rough childhood, I found my heroes. I found my villains. I found the people I want to cheer and boo for. And then pro wrestling is also how I met my wife. She's an avid wrestling fan, and our kids are wrestling fans. So it's great that the whole family can combine that love. Now, speaking of family, and that's how great of an interviewer I am, the segue was perfect. What are your kids and grandchildren, because I'm sure you've got some, what do they think about Bad Nanny? And do your grandkids get scared and be like, man, I know my grandma before she steps through those ropes, but when she steps through those ropes, I don't really like her that much. She's kind of scary.
So my kids are in their 20s.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a mixed bag. They're proud of me for what I've been doing with my life now, but they're also a little shocked and grossed out sometimes. And because, I am the mom.
You are.
And then my granddaughter is like 18 months old, but she does have a Bad Nanny little onesie that she wears sometimes too. So that's pretty cool. And some cool experiences too with that is I had the band Croca from Kitchener asked me if they could do my custom entrance music. So I was like, yes, that's a great idea. So I have custom entrance music. I was able to get my own t-shirts made.
Got to get me one of those. Definitely going to have to get a XXX sent over this way for sure.
What I like on the back is that I thought, well, you know what? Some people may not know that this is actually a pro wrestling t-shirt. So for everybody else out there, it actually has pro wrestling on the back, which I kind of like too. But I had a tattoo artist. He came up with the design for the t-shirts, and his first design was she was evil looking and demonic looking. And I'm like, oh, whoa. No. Your artwork is very good, but that is way too scary. I will not even wear my own t-shirts if it looks too demonic. No. So I like this. She's kicking ass. She's got her wooden spoon. She's got everything. I've sold quite a lot of those t-shirts, actually, to be honest, because they're just kind of fun and funny and unique. And it says on it, the first spank is free. I mean, who doesn't want a free spank? Hello.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I feel like the creative juices are just coming out in so many different bursts, because you look at the videos, you look at like your Instagram page. I must have went down the rabbit hole that is your Instagram page for like an hour last night, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was near close to midnight, and I could not stop laughing. And my kids and my wife must have been like, "What are you doing?" Usually by, because I work early days. My real job has me up at 5 a.m. By midnight on a Friday, I'm like out 3 hours into my sleep. But I was up last night laughing, and I'm looking, and I'm just thinking, creatively, like you're talking about the cookies with the X-Lax. There's so many different ways that Bad Nanny can go, and I think it's I think it's an ever evolving character that really can span years. And it really is about that. It's about having that fun and that creativity. So what is it about Bad Nanny that drives your creativity up? Like, you're already I can tell you're very intelligent, very smart, very creative. But what brings out the flavor that is Bad Nanny when it comes to making these videos and your Instagram, which I'm going to put in the link because everyone has to subscribe to your Instagram. They have to follow this journey because it's absolutely incredible. But how much fun is it to be creative and be Bad Nanny when you get the ability to?
Well, I'll tell you right now. So I've been drinking out of my coffee cup. Can you see that?
Again, I'm with Nanny. Yep.
Yep. It says tea with Nanny. This is my actual mom. She has her own merch. Well, we film her and she sits in a rocking chair with my daughter in the kitchen and they banter back and forth. And the episodes are called Tea with Nanny. And there's always like a little dirty innuendos in there. And my daughter's sitting there. She doesn't know what to say. She just laughs. And my mom's just going on. And she has a following. Like, we haven't done some videos for a while, but we come from a very theatrical family, because when you grow up in rural PEI and you've got one channel that works and you live on a dirt road with no neighbors, you become very, 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 very creative in making your own fun and making yourself laugh. So I sit there sometimes at work and I start snickering to myself, and my husband's like, "What's going on? What are you thinking about now?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, don't worry. It's just my next Bad Nanny video." And he's like, "Okay." And you just get to have fun, because you just get to like be creative and make new things. And I think, and that's what I was told. I think it was, went to a Vance, Nevada seminar, and he said, you always have to be creating and making yourself new, like create yourself new and have new things for your character to do. So like you said, with Bad Nanny, there is a lot of stuff for Bad Nanny to do, and she is not done yet. I'll tell you that.
I love that. And you know what? There's even a potential for Bad Nanny to become a good guy. There's a potential for Bad Nanny to become a hero. Bad Nanny could become Good Nanny. It's really the switch of a word. It just depends on the right storyline and creativity, of course. I want Bad Nanny to stick around for a while. I do. I enjoy Bad Nanny. I don't want her to go good. I don't want her to go straight edge anytime soon. I'm enjoying, how, I want to see how far we can really go with a lot of things, like the cookies. X-Lax is great, but when are we going to get into like hardcore Nanny, when we're going to get like razor blades in these cookies or something like that, or like thumbtacks? You know what I mean? There's so many, said, there's so many different incantations. Have you even thought about maybe working your husband into this chick where he could potentially come out to the ring with you one show or another, where he could be like the employer? There's Bad Nanny, but this is my employer. You know what I mean? There could be something there.
So he does have a role with my wrestling, in that he's a sports doctor. So he actually comes to the shows with me, and he sets up backstage, and he treats all the wrestlers before the show, during the show, after the show. So he's like the sports doctor for the wrestlers. So he wants to do the behind the scenes stage stuff. He's not a big be in the ring type of guy, but he did come up with the name of my signature move, which is Senior Justice. When that diaper comes off, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and again, this is what's great about this conversation, because you're segueing better than I could. Senior Justice, the diaper comes off, business is about to pick up. If JR was commentating one of your matches, he'd be like, "Oh God, the diaper is off. It's about to get rowdy." Senior Justice is, you got to talk about the build. You got to talk about how in the story, in the ring, when you're telling these stories, you're having this artistic match, which that's what it is. It's a great dance between two amazing opponents. or 4 amazing opponents. And a lot of people don't see how difficult it is to narrate a story without words. But we get to the point in the story, we get to the climactic scene where the diaper comes off. And you have to build it for the people that haven't seen it yet, because I've seen it. It's all over it. But if someone hasn't seen it, what can they expect when we get to the point when the diaper comes off and we're going to see senior justice?
Yes. So I always make sure that I get the other wrestler to be distracted somehow. So the other wrestler is distracted. She's talking to the ref or he's talking to the ref and they don't know what's going on. So that's when the audience gets to witness the slow removal of the diaper. Like grab it by the crotch and flip it up and make sure, because you're entertaining that audience, make sure they all see that that diaper is chock full of chocolate pudding. So whip that wrestler around and she doesn't know or he doesn't know what's going on. Face wash, shitty diaper in the face. Sorry if I said a bad word.
No, it's okay.
And then they're blinded. They can't see. Boom, 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 boom. Suplex, pin, win the match. Senior justice. So, but you can't always have the same type of moves then. So now it's always trying to be creative. Like, how am I going to use this diaper differently? Especially if you're in a venue that you've already done that before. So now I have to have like, okay, there's going to be audience members who know my dirty tricks. So how am I going to spice it up and make it different? So, and then I throw that dirty diaper into the audience and like the audience goes, ah! And they actually like scream and like try to get away from the dirty diaper. But I was wrestling Sabrina Kyle at the Shed and she took the dirty diaper and she takes it. She whipped it into the audience and hit one guy on the shoulder with it.
Oh, no.
He had a light blue t-shirt on and it just smeared down the front of his shirt. And he was like sitting there like super angry that he got hit with the poopy diaper. And I was like, well, who haven't?
Forrest Gump said it the best.
It looked like he was like on a date and he was like trying to be all like Rico Suave or something. And then he gets like the poopy diaper.
Well, that's very karma-esque. You don't bring, listen, if you're on a date, don't bring your date to a pro wrestling show where Bad Nanny's at. You may get hit with a diaper and that's just going to happen. It's just going to happen.
And sit in the front row. I mean, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen 100%. Oh, this has been amazing. A couple more questions. I'm going to let you go enjoy your Saturday afternoon. But in terms of longevity for you and how much you plan or how long you plan to keep going at this. I mean, you're having fun, and when you're having fun, you have the passion for it, and when you're doing it safely, longevity doesn't matter. There is no father time, in my opinion. As long as you're having fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But how far do you see yourself going with this?
I want to keep doing it as long as I can have fun, like you said, and not get hurt. When we're in wrestling class and I'm turning 51 in 2 weeks' time. Like I am no spring chicken for a beginner wrestler. And I'm in class with a 12-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old, and a 19-year-old. And they are fit. They have no fear. They want to jump off the top ropes. They're like doing all these crazy moves. And then Vanessa, my coach, my trainer, said like, Natasha, do you want to try that? And I'm like, okay, I'll try. You can usually try everything about once. And then I say, you know what? That's a little too dangerous. I'm either going to hurt me or I'm going to hurt them. So I know when to like what moves I can do and be better at, what moves I need to like scale back on, because I don't want to get hurt. This is all for fun for me. I'm not looking at getting into the WWE anytime soon. Mm-hmm. Well, no.
It could happen. Hey, you know what? Stranger things have happened, and I think that the WWE universe, if it ever did happen, even for one night only, I think they could embrace. I think they could embrace.
Special guest?
Yeah, special guest. Yeah. Could you imagine Bad Nanny the Enforcer? Like, come on, man. Diapers for everybody. Amazing.
That'd be perfect. Perfect.
I love that.
Perfect.
I love that. And you know what? What's great about your story is that it really shows it's never too late. You can always try something, have a little fun, and enjoy it. And you know what? What would you say if there's someone it doesn't matter what age, if they're afraid to try something?
Yeah.
What advice would you have for them? Because I'm sure you were a little bit in the beginning, you were a little bit shell shocked. You were like, I love this world, but I don't know. And then once you fall in love with it, you fall in love with it. I've heard from a million wrestlers, once you take that first bump, it's like the greatest high you will ever experience. And you can't come down from it. And then you become addicted to that bump. So what would you say to someone who's like on the fence or like, I don't know, I'm 37 or I'm 42 or I'm 51 and I don't know if I want to, but I'm scared. What advice would you have?
Well, so at our Off the Ropes Christmas party, I got to meet a lot of the guy wrestlers that go to the guys' classes that I never interact with. And this young fella, I mean, he was young to me. He was like 34, 36. And he came up to me, he goes, I wanted to meet you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, it's because of you that I'm wrestling. And I was like, oh yeah. I said, what do you mean? And he said, I thought I was too old to wrestle until they told me about you. I was well, yeah, there you go. So, and then that gave him is like, well, if she's like 50 years old and she can wrestle, then what's wrong with me? And you could do it at any age as long as it's safe, as long as it's safe and you're having fun. And honestly, it's not for everyone. It's tough. Most people in their 50s don't want to be like smashing around in the ring and get chops and come home with bruises and like, you know, be completely wore out. I wrestled against Shiloh in Prince Edward Island, and it probably didn't faze her. I was sore for a week. But I loved it. It was amazing. It's so much fun. So yeah, just as long as you're safe and healthy and you're having fun with it, why not do it forever?
I love it.
Do it forever.
I love it.
Yeah.
And now, because you mentioned PEI, again, a great segue. You were fantastic. I'm going to just step out. You can just interview yourself. You're killing it. What was it like going back to PEI and wrestling in front of that hometown crowd? How special was that for you?
Oh, you have no idea. So, my end of PEI is about 15,000 people for like one whole third of the province. So it's very rural, and everybody knows each other, to the point where I actually ran for mayor of my town twice. So I was very involved in the community and politics. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I was the director of a mental health clinic for 16 years. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows my family. Everybody knows my kids. So leading up to wrestling in Tignish, PEI, a town of 300 people, 400, it was very small, but we're in the arena. But I had newspaper articles done on me leading up to this show because I would contact them. Hey, you want a cool story? And they're like, sure, Natasha, what do you got for us? Well, let's talk all about me. And we would do these stories. So I had like 3 different newspaper articles, pushed it on social media big time, put up the posters, did the work, and get there. And in PEI, they don't want me to wrestle as Bad Nanny. It's a little too wacko. They wanted me to wrestle as a different character. So go in with my Team Canada singlet. So you're kind of going in like a power lifter. And they said, what's your ring name? And I'm like, I said, I always love Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, how about Carolyn Monroe? And they're like, okay. I got my hair cut shorter like Carolyn Monroe. So I get in the ring and I'm fighting Shiloh, and the kids and the audience are loving it because there's not much that comes up to that end of the aisle for entertainment. They love it. Everything's going great. The kids at intermission are lined up to get my autograph. I'm feeling like a superstar. But nobody knew after intermission, it was kind of like a Team Canada versus Team USA theme throughout the whole show. So Wesley Pipes and I walk out from the curtain together. Obviously, I'm Team Canada. He's part of Team Canada. We walk up, he gets in the ring, and he's fighting the Bad American. The Bad American, his manager is on the outside of the ring. We start wrestling for the belt. I get it away from the manager, but I slide it over to the Bad American. He picks up the belt, hits Wesley with it. It's mayhem. The Americans win the match. So I get up into the ring with the Bad Americans and we start celebrating. And the crowd loses their minds, completely lost it. I can hear people screaming at me, "You traitor!" Like from all areas of the rink, they're screaming it. And like little kids are like shocked. And they were just, this emotion in that rink was absolutely incredible. They went from sweetheart, hero, town hero comes home to you are the friggin' dirt under our feet right now. Like the emotions was just like from one end of the spectrum to the other. It was incredible. It was awesome. It was awesome.
And only pro wrestling. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Only pro wrestling could inflict emotion like that.
Yeah. And then when I get home, like people are still coming up to me at the gym and when I'm at the grocery store in PEI, and they're like, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like, I said, "Well, you're just a loser. That's why." So I just had to join the winning team, and they just banter with people and they just love it because the whole island is just a bunch of characters. So they just love something else that they can banter and character with. So it's great. It's great. Yeah. And I had all my friends, my family, my mom and dad, like tons of people were there just to watch me. So it was a pretty special experience.
I love that. I can actually picture the person at the grocery store checking out and just being like, Do you want bags? Do you want bags with that? 5 cents. 5 cents. But for you, because you're a trader, 45 cents. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Up it. Yeah. I can see that. I can see you being the most loved and most hated woman now in PEI. Yeah. It's factual.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I agree with the townsfolk of PEI. You went to the wrong team. Okay. You went to the wrong team. And you know what? On that note, this interview is now over. I've had enough of it. I'm done. No, I'm joking. But honestly and truly, this was an incredible conversation. And I want to let you know now, you are officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to come back, I don't care when it is. You are more than welcome, and we'll chop it up all over again. And before I let you go, please, even though I'm going to put this in the link for the interview, please let everyone know where they could follow the journey that is Bad Nanny, because it is absolutely one of my favorite Instagram pages. I bookmark it because I laughed my butt off so much last night that I have to be able to get notified when something new is cooking on that Instagram. So please share it.
Yes. Follow me on Instagram. Bad Nanny was already taken, so it's a Badder Nanny. BADDERNANNY. Badder Nanny. Because you don't get more bad than this.
You absolutely don't. And guys, trust me when I say you're going to want to follow it because it is absolutely entertaining as hell. It is my favorite thing on Instagram next to the cooking pages. I don't cook, but I love to watch other people cook. And it really does. It makes me hungry. And then I send recipes to my wife and she's like, "Yeah, I'm not making that." Okay.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff I send her is like the overdone, like crazy burgers that are like stacked like 7 deep. And she's like, "Yeah, you don't need all that red meat." I'm like, "Yeah, but you know what? If I go out with a heart attack full of pastrami, it's worth it. God damn it. It's worth it." But she's like, "No."
Well, does she want my cookie recipe that comes with X-Lax and Viagra?
Are you trying to insinuate something? I, my dear, have no problem in that department. Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, I mean, just in case you want to share them at work or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I've got a few bosses that I would actually love to do that too. So yeah, you know what? DM me that recipe. We're gonna get it hooked up. All right, my dear, thank you so much, Natasha, aka Bad Nanny. An incredible story, an incredible journey, and an incredible person. Thank you so much for joining me today on Straight Talk Wrestling.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, you're part of the family, so anytime you want to come back. Guys, that's it for this one. Peace, love, and wrestling. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Yo. We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the full ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side.